In general, we want to let morphology dictate the mechanics of our technique. The length of our limbs, the length of our torso relative to our limbs. This is what we want to focus on when we're developing our technical skills. Bending the arms to artificially move the bar up into our hips to make contact in the clean is not ideal, even though some people do it. So let's kind of look at some of the reasons why it's not ideal to bend the arms to pull the bar into our hips. Hip contact is not going to be as good because there's going to be some loss of power transmission from the ground to the barbell when we bend our arms. Our bicep muscles and lat muscles pulling up on the bar are not going to be as rigid a mechanism to transfer force as our low back and hips would be. So right off the bat, we're going to lose a little bit of power and possibly some speed in the middle of the pull because of our arms being bent. Arms bending can also decrease the output of our low back and hip musculature through some mechanisms that are not entirely understood, but we do know that this can happen. Outside of that, power from the hips can kick the bar forward more excessively and force the lifter into a position where the bar maybe ends up in front of their area of base, where they jump forward to receive the bar, or it can cause it to swing backward at the top, causing them to lose balance in the bottom of the position when they receive the weight. The final issue that's going to be kind of more pronounced here is that if somebody is engineering their technique to bend the arms to pull it into their hip, meaning they didn't do this naturally, they're doing this because they're trying to create this technique, their arms and back muscles may not be strong enough to actually pull the bar up to their hips with really heavy loads. So they may end up in a situation where, light weights up to 75, 85, 90% even are fine and they can pull the bar to their hips, but when the weight gets really heavy, they just don't have the strength in their arm and back to actually bring the bar up to their hips completely, therefore putting them in this really awkward position where they try to make contact in the hip, but it ends up in the thigh. So they really just did a clean with bent arms and then kicked the bar forward because of it. In general, bending the arms is not going to be as efficient as having the arms straight and making contact on the thigh. Making contact on the thigh, because you don't bend the arms, allows you to have a more ideal position and allows you to capitalize on the use of your legs, your low back, your hips, your shoulders, your traps, all these muscles in conjunction, rather than just emphasizing one aspect like smashing the hips into the bar or pulling the bar deep into your hip with your elbow bent. So power is going to come from the hips and legs better if your arms are straight. It's not going to be a collision. The pull will be more vertical. It'll be closer to the body. You won't have any of those issues where you're rocking back when you catch the weight or leaving the bar out in front as much when you rack the bar. There's going to be less loss of power because your arms are straight. It's easier to transfer force from the ground through your torso, into your shoulder, down your arm, into the barbell. If your arm is straight, all the muscles being neutral or all the joints being neutral and the muscles being relaxed allows you to make that transition better. In addition to all of these qualities, the main thing with having arms straight versus arms bent, or making contact on the thigh versus the hip, is sustainability. You can train more frequently, more often if you're utilizing more muscles to do the work. You're going to distribute a lot of that stress and work over a greater area. It's much easier to recover from. Having bent arms in the clean and making contact in the hip may work really well until you're tired. And you might get more tired more quickly because your arm muscles fatigue faster than they would if you didn't bend them. In addition to that, it's just more sustainable because the technique is going to be less invasive. It's not as aggressive to relax your arms and pull with a smoother technique. It can't be quite as efficient. So you're just generally not fighting that kind of upstream battle of forcing the lift to happen versus being kind of relaxed and smooth and allowing the lift to be a more efficient movement over this kind of forceful one. So what is the ideal start position? What is the ideal contact position for the barbell? The simplest method to find this is to take an empty bar, find your receiving position, so basically where you're going to rack the bar, what that grip is. It's going to be just outside of your shoulders, elbows up, elbows high, basically the same position as a front squat. Then you're going to lower the bar from there down to your thigh, standing completely vertical. You'd bend the knees and then lean forward slightly until the bar drifts down your thigh a little bit. Your shoulders should be directly over the bar in this position, and your body weight should be mid-foot with your knee slightly bent. Now, there's going to be a range here, up and down 2 to 3 inches, but basically we're talking about a shorter arm person making contact, top of the middle third of our thigh, maybe the top third of our thigh. A longer arm person probably going to be bottom third of our thigh, maybe bottom middle third of our thigh. So there's a little bit of room to move up and down there. It's not going to be the exact same spot, for each person. It's not going to be the exact same spot on the same person. Think of it as a range. We just want this little band in the middle of our thigh to actually connect with the bar.